is sheltered in place. But I do know one thing. Look at the rest of us. Bedraggled, unshaven, unkempt.
Unkempt.
And here he is, Joe Buck, ladies and gentlemen, clean-shaven, looking clean and fresh. What the hell's going on? You have your own stylist come in now? What's happening, Joe?
You guys are crazy. I'm a wreck right now. I don't. If you're looking at a picture, it's probably been photoshopped. And if it's from the HBO thing, that was the first day I shaved since all this started. So I felt like I needed to clean it up a little bit for Bryant, and then he showed up on HBO and looked, like a haggard wreck. So I right now I'm like halfway with the beard, but I never change out of sweatpants, and I rarely wear underwear.
Well, I never wear underwear, but that's good to know. Harry won't give his golf index because we were just talking about the golf event coming up, and somebody asked him for his index. I'm not going to give out that information. Can you believe that?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, this guy, I don't understand him. Joe, it's great to talk to you again. I know we're all going through the same thing, but that was the other night, though. So that wasn't you didn't tape that on Monday? When did you tape that, or did you do that live?
No, we taped it. Yeah, we taped it a while ago. So I've since, the only hair that I can actually grow that hasn't been transplanted is on my face and in my ears. So I get a kick out of seeing actual hair sprout from some part of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the beard. It makes me feel like more of a man.
Joe Buck, of course, the last time we were talking about him, because we haven't talked to him in a while, is that porn thing was a big story because it put a lot of sports radio shows, gave us content for a couple of days, Joe.
Yeah, you're welcome. I don't know. I still, honest to God, don't know who floated that out there and how the only reason I was even aware of it is somebody told me that Darren Ravel tweeted it, and then I went on and saw it. I never really looked at the entire offer. I kind of left him at hello, but 7 figures to call a live porn webcam thing that I would cost me my career and my relationship with my mom.
But to try to help you out, I called the company and said I'd do it for 1/3 of that. So I was trying to take some of the pressure off you, Joe.
I appreciate that. Believe me, I had a lot of volunteers. Once that came out, just about everybody I know was reaching out to me, mostly single guys that I know were like, hey, I'll do it for half that. Oliver Hudson, who I do a podcast with, Kate's brother and Goldie Hawn's son, offered for half price. He'd do it all day, every day. So
but he's single. I'm connected, though, Joe. I have a significant other, and then she would give me permission to do it for 1/3 of what you would have had.
And you have a lot of contacts in the industry.
I have a lot of industry contacts, as you know, living in L.A. for 11 years, Joe.
And Joe, not only that, his mother's hard of hearing, so she wouldn't be able to hear that. She would never know.
She would never know.
Well, this was actually part of the offer was for, and I'm not kidding here or trying to be funny, it was for visually impaired people.
Yes.
To enjoy the experience of whatever was happening on this live webcam. So that felt like enormous pressure. Like I don't know, when I do TV sports, people are seeing it. I don't need to say, ground ball to the shortstop. They're seeing a ground ball to the shortstop. But in this case, I think I would probably go overboard and feel the need to describe everything I was saying. And I think most of the things that I'd be seeing, I wouldn't have the vocabulary or the experience to actually put any kind of clever lines to. So every way, it was not an offer that I could even entertain.
Right, but somebody just texted me, Tracy Lords turns 52 today. Is that coincidence?
No. I turned 51 last Saturday. So
wow.
Happy birthday.
I didn't realize that Tracy and I were both Tauruses and that we were born basically exactly 1 year apart.
Wow. What were you doing when you were 18, other than, being with your father, the legendary Jack Buck, and learning the ropes and the roots of broadcasting?
I was a senior in high school, and then I was on my way to college, and by the time I was 19, about to be 20, is when I started at AAA Louisville, and when I was 21, I was doing Cardinal radio and left college, and I used nepotism to its fullest Power and got a job alongside my dad doing Cardinal Radio, and then Fox dropped out of nowhere in 1994, and they wanted young guys to kind of fill in behind Summerall and Stockton, and I was one of the guys that auditioned and they picked.
Well, I'll say this, Joe, knowing you now for a while, that all these people who talk about nepotism, there's a lot of broadcasters, Michael Jordan, there's a lot of people who are great athletes that their sons aren't the same as their LeBron's son obviously is going to be a difference, but Michael Jordan's son, just because your dad was somebody who was famous or really good at what he does, doesn't give you the carte blanche. It gets you the entree, but you still have to go out there and perform. So that really bothers me when I hear people say, well, Joe Buck got a job because his dad was a great broadcaster. You don't last in this business unless you're a great broadcaster or get network jobs either.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part. The whole theory kind of breaks down when you get to Fox, which is a place where he obviously never worked, and now it's been over 25 years that I've been there. And I think if he were alive today, he would be shocked that I've done 22 World Series and 6 Super Bowls, and it's blown away any expectation or dream that I had in this business. I think the negatives are that I'm going to constantly, for people in my hometown of St. Louis, I'm going to live in my dad's shadow, and that's fine. Thank God we were as close, my dad and I, as we were. And so I'll always kind of be seen as somebody who got in because of family ties. But I think the positives far outweigh any of that. I mean, I was in every National League city by the time I was 12. I was paying attention. I had a master's class in broadcasting that was driving me to and from the ballpark every night, and I would do games in an empty booth into a tape recorder when I was 13. So I took advantage of the opportunities I had, and I'm glad that my dad wanted me around him. Thank God we were that close, or I don't think you and I would be talking today.
Well, you would have talked to me anyway at a Super Bowl or something, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I would have asked you if you wanted to pay 50 cents extra for guacamole on your bowl.
Hey, Joe, I know you've done bass fishing play-by-play in your day.
Yeah.
Do you think the webcam play-by-play would have been tougher than that?
Nothing is tougher than doing live bass fishing on television, because somebody forgot to tell our old boss, who is responsible for me even being at Fox, and I joke about this with him all the time. He's Australian, David Hill. He sold it to me. He's like, it's the next NASCAR. And it's so far away from being the next anything, because nobody told the fish that we were live on Fox between 4:30 and 6 p.m. on a Sunday. And I think maybe 2 guys caught a fish, and they were nothing to be proud of. It was the most boring hour and a half in the history of network television. That I can promise you.
The only thing similar to NASCAR is both the fishermen and the NASCAR drivers have as many like advertisements on their suits. That's about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did it. Yeah, you're right. And we did it. It was me. I was the host. Bob Brenly was the analyst. And then Forrest L. Wood, the inventor of the bass fishing boat where you can stand on the bow of the boat and you won't fall off, was the other guy. He'd never done TV. My only experience in fish was that I had a fish tank as a kid. And then Brenly, I guess, was an outdoorsman that qualified him. But we were all looking at each other, and these fishermen were not turning their microphones on, not turning their earpieces on. So I'm interviewing guys that can't hear me, and if they can hear me, I can't hear them. And nobody was catching fish. I mean, it just can't get any worse than that.
At least you should have called Jimmy Houston or Bill Dance, those guys, with the Tennessee hats on in the morning.
The guy with the Tennessee hat with the bill that's all like
and every time
and bent over.
And every time, Joe, you know what they would say when they'd pull one of those one of the big mouths out? Nice bass. It's a nice bass.
Yeah, nice bass. Nice fish. That's a nice fish.
Now you're going to have the people in the South thinking that Joe Buck hates Southerners who go bass fishing.
Add him to the freaking list. I don't care. That's fine.
Joe Buck, of course, we're here in my basement where I've been doing shows forever. I was way ahead of this social distancing and having a studio in my house, Joe. Now everybody has to do emergency ones. I've had one down here for a couple of years. But the whole thing of doing it at home, and we're all going crazy. And I saw you and Jim Nantz with all the guys. You know, Matt Breen had the Papa shot in the background. Yeah. Jim Nantz had the kitchen that was like bigger than most people's
all this
home.
marble.
Yeah, exactly. And then you were sitting there in your office, and of all the guys, and I understand everybody's got different, you seem to be skeptical about playing and having sports return, but Jim Nantz is like, oh, I think we're going to do it. And it's his opinion, but each day, do your opinions change? Because I look at it one day, and I'm like, yeah, I think we're going to have sports this fall. And then the next day, I'm like, no, maybe not. Do you go through that roller coaster of one day you think it's going to happen, and the next day it's not?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because the answer is yes. I feel like my attitude on this whole thing and looking ahead and trying to project where we'll be, I don't know about you, but 2 weeks from now seems like an eternity, let alone September with football. I mean, that seems like at the other end of the spectrum time-wise. So my mood and my optimism changes by the hour, and I'm kind of, as we talk here at 4:30 Central Time on this day, whatever the hell day it is, I don't even know what day it is. It's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Thursday. I'm sure it's May. I'm not exactly sure the day in May. I believe there will be. Now I'm of the belief and firm feeling that there will be baseball with no crowds, I'm guessing, in July, and there will be football. I'm still guessing no crowds, hopefully no delay, but I do believe that all these sports are going to ramp back up, and there will be something before the year's out.
Well, that's optimistic.
Absolutely.
We'll check back with him tomorrow. But what about golf, though, which is the ultimate social distancing sport? They're looking to get it going in June, and you guys are looking to go to Winged Foot now in September, the 17th through the 20th?
Yeah, I think golf is the easiest one of them all. These guys are still hitting balls. These guys, it's not a team sport. It's not like I have to get my arm in shape. I can't throw to my grandma in the backyard. I have to really go throw and try to make pitches to get outs. That's a different thing than just hitting balls and fine-tuning. I assume most of these guys, whether they're in Florida or Arizona or wherever they're living, California, they're maybe not California, and I'm sure they've all moved to places where they can get out and play. Mm-hmm. They could play tomorrow. So golf is the easiest one of all of them, as opposed to the team sports and getting hamstrings in shape, getting arms in shape, seeing live pitching, seeing live hitting, feeling live hitting. That's different. So I think some sort of spring training part 2 in June, and playing early July in baseball, and maybe something normal-ish in football.
Talking with the great Joe Buck, who's changed now. He's doing podcasts too. So everybody now in the face of the earth has a podcast. In fact,
yes,
we have to know. You could probably find people who don't have a podcast and put them on one hand, maybe two hands. But yours is going great, Joe. I mean, you used to be on your Twitter account. You used to say, yes, I hate your team too, or something along those lines, because every city you go to, people think that you hate their team. But now you say, you don't know me, but you can if you try my podcast. And it seems like you're digging this podcasting stuff, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's me. It's more me. And I think that's the freeing part of it. I love what I do. I love what I do at Fox. I love doing World Series and all that other stuff. And thank God I get to do it. And if they tell me today that I'm done, I've done way more than I should. But people think they know you. As you said, everybody thinks you're rooting against them because you're really there not rooting for anybody. And this is just me being me. And I'm on with a great friend of mine, Oliver Hudson. I think we've got a good rapport, and we've had good guests. I mean, people are responding guest-wise, too. So Josh Duhamel, that one dropped today, but we've had Spade and Mark Cuban and Bill Simmons and A-Rod. And we're trying to get the best list of guests we can once a week. It has not been that taxing that wise, but I love it. I love just saying stuff that comes to mind, and it's kind of a raw version of me, which is really just me.
Daddy Issues is the name of the podcast, so if people didn't know
it's Rules of Engagement.
No, it's Daddy Issues.
Oh, yes,
yeah,
yes.
Daddy Issues is the podcast. Ollie was on Rules of Engagement and other stuff, and he's Kate's brother, and he's Goldie Hawn's son, and Kurt Russell's son in a roundabout way, and Wyatt Russell's brother. So he thinks he doesn't measure up in his family's eyes, and I am my dad's kid. So even though I'm 51 and exactly almost 1 year younger than Tracy Lord.
So you didn't know that before you came on with me today, did you, Joe?
I didn't. I feel terrible. I have to get her something.
By the way, your broadcast partner in the Fox NFL Sunday booth, Troy Aikman, I'm going back and forth with him on Twitter, and he says, yeah, I want to come on the show. I say, good, well, contact me because I don't have your phone number, because you guys have to change your phone numbers every 15 minutes dealing with the knuckleheads out there. And so Troy says, yeah, I want to come on the show, and then I can't get a hold of him.
He's ghosting you.
He is ghosting me.
Well, you took me. It took intermediaries like Spida to get us together. I finally checked my Twitter, like that direct messaging thing that had messages from like when I turned 4 on there, and I saw that you wanted to have me on. So it took 2 seconds. So it should be easy to get Troy on. I mean, what else is he doing? So I'll send you his cell and his Social Security number.
I want his Social Security number first. This way, maybe I can buy some stuff for Jerry's boat that the next time I go down there. How about that? But now you have a boat.
Have you been on that boat?
Have you been on there? Is a great question, Harry.
Yeah.
Hell no. I'm not gay. No. I assume that's where they film the show Below Deck. I don't think I will ever get on the Eugenia or something? Bravo Eugenia, I think is the name of the boat.
You've been on Jimmy Johnson's boat down in Miami, the 5 Rings, right?
Yeah, but that's just like him drinking Heineken and then going as fast as he can and checking lobster traps that he puts out there. I mean, that's an education, and he's on it all day, every day. No, the other is not like boating. It's styling.
Oh yeah.
It's some sort of weird, lifestyles of the rich and famous thing. If I went on, I would wear an ascot though.
You have to. And remember, and you'd have to have deck shoes. None of this.
Yeah.
No hard soles and stuff. You got to take that stuff.
Are you allowed to wear even shoes on there? I imagine that most people that go on the Bravo Eugenia have to start with a pedicure and then work their way toward the back of the boat and hop on.
No, they're not allowing those yet, even in Texas. Even on Jerry's yacht, they're arresting people who want to go on there and get pedicures and manicures and all. Last thing, Joe, I want to ask you about the schedule release tonight. You're the NFL voice on Fox. Will you be there going down each schedule and doing the traditional? Harry and I tomorrow when we do our show, we're going to do our annual tradition, which we stole from Mike and the Mad Dog, the give 'em a win, give 'em a loss dog schedule release of every NFL team, and then tell everybody what their record's going to be at the end of the session.
Will I do that? No. I will look at where I'm supposed to be, and then, by the way, wonder if I'm actually going to be there or if I'm going to be in a studio or if I'm going to be in my office calling these games. I have no idea. Nobody knows anything. So I'll look at where Fox's their doubleheader games are and then what the Thursday night schedule is, and I'll leave the rest for you to figure out.
Gee, I thought with all this extra time between podcasts, you'd be able to break things down so that when you do broadcast again, you could say, I had them going 12-4 when I was looking at this back in May.
Does anybody do what nobody says? I had them going 4-12, and now they're 12-4. I think it's usually one way. Well, this team sucks. This team is let down. I don't know that anybody's doing the surprise thing, but maybe I'll just let the games come as they're listed, and I'll show up where they tell me to go.
When Joe said he'd have an ascot on if he was on Jerry's yacht, it got me thinking about yacht rock radio.
Oh yeah.
Like, Joe, what's your favorite yacht rock radio tune?
Well, I mean, along these lines, it would be Crisscross's Sailing.
Exactly.
Yes, that's it.
Number one
that is
on the
number
board.
one. Ding, ding.
If you're going to do a Mount Rushmore, which a lot of radio shows do now with no sports, a Mount Rushmore of yacht rock, Sailing by Criss Cross has to be number one on the list, right?
It has to be. And I've trying to think of which are my Sirius XM stations that I go to other than Stern. And
wait, what about 211? What about 211, the Dan Patrick channel? Dan Patrick, Rich Eisen, and Tony Bruno.
Dan Patrick has his own channel?
Yes, it's the channel I'm on. It's Dan Patrick,
I know,
Rich Eisen, and then me.
You're easy to get under your skin. My God,
I'm from Philly. I'm from Philly, and I'm Italian, Joe. You know that.
He's looking for a fight, Joe.
What are you, nuts? Dan Patrick's got a channel. Come on. We're on after Rich Eisen. Let's go. Yeah, okay.
Now, Joe,
no wonder why people in Philly think you hate us.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you suck, Buck. You hate the Eagles. You hate the Phillies. You suck. Okay. All right.
Great.
Have a nice day. That's when I check into the hotel.
Exactly. No, that's when you get off when you're actually walking through not even to the terminal, when you're coming up the jetway.
The jetway.
That's the first thing you hear, right?
I had that one of the last flights I took. It was a Southwest flight. Swear to God, from St. Louis to Phoenix, and I get off, and a Philly fan, this woman, stops me. She goes, "I just got to ask you," and I'm thinking she wants an autograph. She's like, "I just got to ask you, why do you hate Philadelphia so much?" I was like, I just snapped. I said, "I don't hate Philly. Why would I hate Philly? I love Philly." Jesus, give me a break. And she just looked at me. I mean, all the blood ran out of her face. I was like, "I'm sorry. I'm just tired of hearing how I hate every city. I love being in Philadelphia. It's great. It's a fun trip. People care. I love when fans care. They care there. It's good.
I'm not asking you to talk about Philadelphia. I was just busting your chops, Joe. Come on, man.
No, I know. But that's my hot button thing. That I got under your skin with the Dan Patrick channel, and
no,
now
you
got under mine.
I don't do that. You won't find a more laid-back, easy to get along with human being on the planet. I listen to Yacht Rock Radio and chill.
And drink wine.
And I drink wine.
Yeah.
Jim Nantz sent me a bottle of his The Calling wine. Come on.
The Calling.
Yeah.
Calling.
That's what I want to do. I want to find a job where I just can name wine.
Yeah.
This one is Grandpa's Shorts. We're going to call this one. Yeah.
How do you not have? You're not a wine guy, right?
I've become one, much to my daughter's surprise. When I met my now wife Michelle, I went from basically like Bud Select to now I'm talking about tannins. I hate myself.
Yes.
I don't even want to hear that come out of my mouth.
Well, your spotter, a Philly. I didn't even know your spotter was a Philly guy. We had him on the show at the Super Bowl. Ed Speed, I didn't even realize that.
Wait, what? You had him on your show?
On Super Bowl Radio Row. I'm the only guy who put him on nationally to give him the love and respect that he deserves.
How did you even know? Is he walking around with a
got him
T-shirt on that says, "I'm Joe Buck Stat Guy"?
No, I texted him and said, "You got to get over here right now."
Now, Harry and he are buddies, Harry Mays, and I said, I know there's a guy from Philly because there's all these guys, Malibu, Kelly, hey, all these Philly guys are spotters and statisticians for most of the network broadcast guys.
He was a good guest that day.
There's something in the water there. I mean, I've told Speed of this to his face.
He's actually listening right now.
Yeah, of course he is. What else is he going to do? He's not going to talk to Christy, his wife, or Nate and Jack, his kids. Come on, Ed, go back to your family. I don't know that I could do a game without him. So I hope that he's taking good care of himself during this quarantine time because I lean on him more than anybody that I work with.
And unfortunately, there's not even like a Division III local college basketball game you can go to anymore.
No,
now.
if there was, he'd do it.
He's got to be going, just literally climbing the walls in his house. One time we were doing a game in San Francisco on a Sunday, and he was racing to the airport to fly home to Philly so that he could turn around and fly to Seattle for the Monday night game so he could get miles. Instead of just staying out west. I'm like, what? Just relax. Go have a drink and like drive to Seattle. No, he had to get more miles.
There it is. We span the globe here
Yes,
with
sir.
the great Joe. It's always
Yeah.
great to talk to you, man. Thank you so much, and hopefully we will have sports again. And if not, we'll just do podcasts and goof off for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. It's just a round-robin podcast thing. Everybody goes on everybody's. So it's imploding.
Beautiful. Joe, thank you so much, buddy.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, man. Joe Buck. How good is he?